Welcome to a Faithful God podcast. I'm your host, Tammy, and today on the show, we're going to talk about affirmations and how we can use them to fight our fears, worries, and anxieties. So grab those earbuds and your favorite beverage and join me for today's show. Well, hi friend, happy Wednesday. Welcome back. I hope you are having a great week so far. Listen, we've got a lot to talk about today and I cannot wait to dig in. But before I do, I want to remind you invite you rather to that wherever you are listening or watching the show, I would love for you to subscribe so that way you do not miss out anytime I put out an episode. So let's go ahead and dig into this today. Affirmations. You know, I think I hear this all the time, especially as a businesswoman. You hear a lot of mindset strategies and, repeating affirmations and all of that. And, I'm all about changing the mindset. I'm all about digging in and, facing our fears and conquering them, stepping outside of that comfort zone and doing whatever we have to do to get there, and again, those affirmations of just really pushing us and encouraging us to, reach the next level in whatever that is. But here's the thing, I really want to dive into it because I think it's important to understand the difference between, as I say, quote unquote, regular affirmations and biblical affirmations, And I think it's really important, to understand that. And therefore, to really help you and help me as well as we go through our fears, our worries, and anxieties. I think it's really important to understand the distinction between the two and make sure we're using them in the right way. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So affirmations are, simply put, they're just a short statement that works and gives us positive encouragement to change our minds. But the problem with regular, again, quote unquote, affirmations and biblical versus biblical affirmations, I'm really having trouble talking this morning. I apologize. But the problem with regular affirmations is that they are done in our own strength. We are standing on our own strength and grace to get us through to whatever it is we want to conquer, right? But with biblical affirmations, what we're doing is we're standing on the Word of God. We're standing on His truth. We're standing on His strength. We're standing on His endurance. We're standing on His unconditional love and what we know about God and what we know as a child of God, to actually stand on those truths and declare them in our life. It's a big difference, my friend. It's a big difference. One is in our own strength, and the other, biblical affirmations, are in God's strength. And I think it's really important to understand that difference so that way we can, be all that God created us to be. We don't want to be out there trying to do it all in our own strength. We want to be coming before the Lord, standing before Him. We want to set our minds on Him, renew our minds, and speak and declare His truths in our life. So friend, our words matter. All words matter, quite frankly. They can really, really take someone out at the knees. They can build a person up, and not just people that we are speaking to, which is incredibly important, but also when we're speaking them over ourselves. Let me give you an example. So as a lot of you know this story, but if you're new here, let me just quickly catch you up. So I suffer with migraines. I don't believe they're considered chronic anymore. Thank God. I'm praising God for that. But at any rate, when I was in the midst of them, when I was getting 3 to 5 migraines a week, I found that I was laying in bed, and one of the mantras, quite frankly, that went through my head again and again and again was, I don't feel well. I don't feel well. That was the biggest one. I don't feel well. Also, my anxiety would kind of creep in, and when it was getting close to the day that I had to go back to work, and I would start worrying, what if I get another migraine and I wind up on the side of the road again and have to try to turn around and drive home? What if I get a migraine at work and have to ruin my patient's schedule for that day? What if I get a migraine at work and the girls have to, number one, help me upstairs because I could barely walk when I would get them at the time. Or I'd mess up their schedules, all the things, I'm speaking all this stuff, these anxieties, these fears, I'm feeding into these fears. And so all of those were negative words that I spoke over myself again and again and again. And until I decided that I was no longer going to camp out in the pain, until I decided that, I'm going to start speaking healing words over myself. I'm going to stand on the truth of God instead and speak these words over myself. Nothing could change in my life until I started doing that. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I had to make a change myself. I had to change my vocabulary. I had to change the words I was speaking over myself if I wanted to see a change in my life. Now, maybe you don't have a chronic illness. Perhaps you have a broken relationship that you are just really struggling with. Perhaps you have no idea how you're going to make it to the next paycheck and still put, you can't even put food on the table this week. Whatever it is, maybe you have an addiction that you do not know how to get out of and you are just so sick. Maybe it is a chronic illness. But the words, I want you to be very mindful of the words that you're speaking over yourself. We're going to change that narrative today. We're going to change ourselves by taking that step into God and declaring His truth over our life. Now, declaring is nothing more than to powerfully speak something into existence. That's what declaring is. And God says we can declare what we want to happen even before it happens. So we can stand here and declare and what we're hoping for and what we'd like to see in our lives. And we can keep declaring it, right? God says, pray continually. We keep declaring it until it comes to fruition, until we see it. Now, one of the things you're going to say to me is, yeah, but Tam, you know what? That yeah, but, right? You know what, Tam, but how do I know what to pray? And what if He doesn't give me what I want? Here's the thing, friend. When we are standing on these Christian affirmations, when we are standing on God's truth, when we are getting close to Him through prayer and by getting into the Bible at least 4 times a week, when we are doing these things, we're growing closer to God and our thoughts start to align. The Holy Spirit uses it, or one of the things He does with us is He aligns our thoughts with God's. And so over time, guess what? Your prayers are going to change. Guess what? Your hopes are going to change. Guess what? Your dreams and your desires are going to change. That's just part of it. Because you see, we know, right? What do we know? Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. They are for good and not to harm. They are for a hope and a future, right? And so we know that God knows what's best for us. We know that God has a plan for us. We know that He is never going to let anything destroy us. He doesn't say He's not going to let anything be hard. It says that He's not going to let anything destroy us. And you see, when we stand on those truths, what we know to be true, when we keep communicating with God, our thoughts and our dreams and our desires will start to change. We'll start to open up. Our eyes will become open. That's not the right way to say it. Our eyes will open up to all God has for us as we continue to move along, as we continue to stand on His truths. One of the things we talk a lot about in the community is Satan and what Satan does. Here's the thing, friends. What's so just crazy to me. I mean, such a difference in my thinking and the way I believe from a long time ago. But we know this, right? Satan comes to steal, kill, and destroy. He has one goal: to separate us from God. He has one goal. Now, he plays that out in all different kinds of ways, creating self-doubt, fear, lies, anxiety, hardship, addictions. He plays that out or uses all of those tactics against us, right? But it's all to separate us from God. And the cool thing is, you've heard that strategy. What is it? Is it this, what is that called? It is I'm going to look it up right now because I just want to, what is that called? It is called the strategic offensive principle of war. That's what it's called. The strategic offensive principle of war. And what that is, you've heard it said, you may not have heard it put that way, but you've heard it said many times, the best defense is a good offense, right? We want to prepare ourselves. We want to be proactive instead of reactive because man, oh man, when we try to respond to our feelings, when we try to respond to things that happen in our life, when we are reactive, we don't respond in a good way. We just don't. We don't. It is hard. We stress out. That anxiety that feels like the walls are closing in. We start those lies in our head start growing and growing and growing and just become worse, right? So we want to have a good offense. So let me back up just a moment. So God created you and I to be able to recognize fear, right? He gave that ability to us when he created us. And what that was designed for was the fear of dangerous situations. I just had a thought come up. And for any of those of you who are listening, I'm on my hygiene team, number of years ago, quite a while ago, we all went to Utah as an office for a big conference. And before we did that, we went to Robert Redford. What is that? Is it Sundance? I can't remember. Robert Redford's place, not his home, but he has a place there. Beautiful, incredible in the mountains, all of that. And we were actually riding horses in the mountains. My boss, he's so good. He thought of something really fun and cool for all of us to do. But so many of us girls were scared out of our minds. If you're watching me on YouTube, you see me. I started out really small, but the trails we were on were in the mountains, on the side of mountains. The trails we were on were very, very narrow. Some of us didn't know horses a lot. And so we're trusting these horses. And of course, these horses have done this time and time and time again. Of course, we could trust that they're going to get us where we need to go. But I think of that. When I think of fear, it's like, oh my gosh, all those bad things. I'm looking off the side of the mountain, which is a lot of times just right here, not far away. That's fear. That's the fear, and gosh, what am I trying to say? Coming when you're walking in the mountains, right? And you've got that danger, that fear. That's what God created in us to protect us from doing something we shouldn't be doing, right? Not that we shouldn't be going on the horses or anything like that. I don't mean that. But, these things that are dangerous to keep us from that. He never intended for it to be used. I'm trying to think of my words here as I go. He never intended for fear to keep us from doing the things that he wants for us in our life. Are we going to feel fearful? Absolutely. Right? We talk about that. We're going to step outside our comfort zone. We're going to say, heck yeah, God, we're going to follow where he is going. But here's the thing. Satan is so good at what he does. On one hand, I was thinking about this morning as I was getting ready, and I always go through in my head what I'm going to talk about and all of that. But I was thinking about this. I talk all the time about how smart and wily and savvy Satan is, right? He knows our weaknesses. He knows how to get into those cracks and crevices and feed our fears. He knows how to feed that self-doubt. He knows how to or what to do to cause our anxiety to rise up and to feel as if the world is against us and the walls are closing in around us. But on the other hand, he's not very smart either. I say on one hand he is, but on the other hand he isn't. It's the same goal. He just uses different tactics to try and make it happen. And the cool thing is, you and I know that. As a child of God, we know that we house the Holy Spirit within us. As a child of God, we know that God has plans for us, and they are for good and not for harm. They are for hope and a future, right? We know those things as children of God, and we also know what Satan does. We know his plans. It almost makes me now. Granted, we don't sit there and laugh in the situations because, man, some of our situations are hard. But it almost makes me look back and laugh in hindsight and think, what was Satan thinking? He was no match for my God. No match for my God. Right? But you see, when we keep choosing to trust God, when we keep choosing to stand on his truths, Satan is no match for us. Those lies become, God reveals his truth in the midst of our lies. But you see, friend, we've got to, we talk about this all the time too, is we've got to pursue it. We can't sit on the sidelines and wait for God to bring everything to us. Could he do that? And will he do that at times? Absolutely, he will. But most of the time, because he wants a relationship with us, we have to take that step, and we have to figure out, we have to learn, not figure out, but we have to learn what his truths and promises are so that we can stand against the enemy. We have to put together a good offense so that we're good. Okay, now I'm not going to say it right. In order to have a good defense, we have to put together a good offense. That's how I meant to say it, right? So what do? A couple different things here. In those times where you are struggling right now, if this is you right now, I want you to hop on over. In fact, in just a little bit, I'll give you some more information, but I put together 40 Christian affirmations to help you with your fears, worries, and anxieties. And I'll give you more information about that. But if you're not really struggling right now is the time to build that offense. Right now is the time to stay in communication with God, suit up with his armor every day, get into the Bible at least 4 times a week. Why do I say 4 times a week? Because studies show the amazing effects that it has on our emotions and on our life, all different manners of our life when we are reading the Bible at least 4 times a week. So when we're doing those things, when we put together some Christian affirmations to stand on, the next time we start feeling that lie, the next time we start feeling the walls closing in on us, the next time we start to worry, the next time we start to fear something, we can stand on, we've got those Christian affirmations that we have already put together and that we can stand on, right? Again, these are short statements. When we're in the pit of that mess, when we're trying to fight for our lives, we don't need this long drawn out statement. What we need is something that we can either pull out of our pocket real quick. We've written it down, pull it out of our pocket and read it right in front of us and keep reading it and keep standing it. Hey, my friend, here's the thing. I can't tell you how many times, I've lost count how many times, and I still do this. When things are tough, I'll stand in warrior pose. I'll put my hands on my hips. I'll put my legs about shoulder width apart. I'll look up towards God and I'll yell, "Not today, Satan." My God loves me unconditionally. That's a Christian affirmation. My God will give me the strength to get through. That's a Christian affirmation. My God already has it figured out. Therefore, I surrender my worries to him. That's a Christian affirmation. You get into warrior pose, my friend. You fight this, because here's the thing. The more you do this, number one, the easier it's going to become. Number two, the more you're going to recognize what's truth and what isn't, right? What's coming from God and what isn't. And the closer you're going to grow to God. Good stuff, my friends. So how do you write Christian affirmations? What do you want to, what do you, I'm having a brain burp here. My mind is I'm going on overdrive in my head, all these things that I want to tell you. How can you write a Christian affirmation? That's what I'm trying to say. Here's what you want to do. You want to first go to God in prayer. Always. That's always the first thing. We know that, right? Let me take a sip of my chai here. That's scrumptious. Scrumptious. So we want to always go to God in prayer first. God, pour out your wisdom on me. Show me, Lord, your truth to combat my lies. And then what I want you to do is I want you to write down the lies that you feel when you are in the midst of your fears, your worries, and your, the anxiety and all of the things, right? I want you to write down what it is you're believing at that moment. Remember, friends, feelings aren't facts. We're going to get to the bottom of what is fact, right? Feelings are not fact. We feel this lie. We feel this self-doubt. We feel this worry. We feel this fear. But all of those are lies, right? They're not facts. So we're going to get to the bottom of that. So then once we write that down, what I want you to do next is then either grab your concordance or Google, pull your phone out of your back pocket, Google Bible verses on whatever it is you're struggling with. Bible verses on, Lord, I am scared out of my mind because I have to put food on the table and I have no idea how to put gas in my car as well. Like I don't have the money to do both. Lord, I am scared out of my mind. What do I do? Google Bible verses on finances or provision, God providing, right? And then once you find that Bible verse that resonates most with you, I want you to write it down. Remember, something I talk about all the time and really encourage is to look at different, multiple translations, because that is powerful. That'll really help you get to the meat of what that Bible verse is about. And then after you've done that, I want you to write down a short, specific Christian affirmation. Okay, we want to be short and we want to be specific because we want you to be able to pull this up anytime, everywhere, and do it. Okay? Now, friend, here's the thing. I know that it can be hard. I know I'm one of those people, I need a little inspiration to get me going. So, as I mentioned earlier, over on the blog, I actually, I wrote out just this week, 40 Christian affirmations for anxiety, fear, worry, all of that. Hop on over to the blog. I've gone into more detail over there on, just Christian affirmations. Hop on over to the blog, check out that blog post, but also download in there. You can download the Christian affirmations worksheets. Worksheets, workbook. I don't want to, workbook sounds big and like a lot. It's not. But so I put those together. And what I do in there is I teach you how to write your own Christian affirmations. But I've also included in that PDF 40 Christian affirmations that you can use for yourself right now. Here's the thing, my friend. Words are powerful. God spoke the world into existence. That's how powerful words are. We are his children, created in his image. And because we are his children, we can declare we have been given authority over all the evil things, all things on this earth, over all evil things on this earth. And I apologize. I meant to look up that Bible verse. You can Google it and find it for yourself. I meant to do that. But we've been given that, friend. We've been given that authority. And if we sit here in the pain of our circumstances, in our worry, in our fears, in our anxiety, and we're speaking negative words over ourselves, nothing is going to change. It's just not. We have to seek, right? Keep on seeking and the door will be open. Or keep on knocking and the door will be open, right? That Bible verse, by the way, with an affirmation is in the 40 affirmations that I provided for you. But we have to pursue, my friends. We have to seek. We can't sit on the sidelines crying, woe is me. We can't sit on the sidelines saying, I don't feel well. I'm raising my hand here for those of you not on YouTube, right? I laid there in bed saying, I don't feel well. I don't feel well. I don't feel well. I don't feel well. Over and over and over again. I wasn't going to heal. I was not going to experience any kind of healing until I changed what I was speaking, until I stood on the word of God, leaned into him, and chose to trust him for my healing. I could not find peace in the midst of those migraines until I started standing on God's truth. Until I understood who I was, whose I was, and why I was created. Couldn't do any of those things, my friend. We've got to speak words, biblical affirmation, words of biblical. I'm really having trouble speaking today. My goodness, we've got to speak biblical truth into our life. Got to do it, my friends. If we want to change, if we want to stop living like the way we are and living the way we are, in pain, worrying, fearful, anxiety-stricken, we've got to do something about it, my friends. And I'm helping you. I am helping you so I don't want this to be overwhelming for you. You've got enough overwhelm in your life. I put that together for you. So hop on over, go to footprintsofinspiration.com/affirmations. That will get you to the blog post. And in that blog post, you can sign up and grab go over and grab the Christian Affirmations worksheets there to download. So friend, we got this. You and I together. You got this. We have to have a little faith. And when we stand on God's truth, we don't have to have this massive amount of faith. In fact, just this month in Grow Your Faith Community, we are actually talking about Satan's biggest lie, that we're alone, right? And we talk about the faith, that little faith of even a mustard seed, that is all we need. Jesus says, even if you have the faith of just a mustard seed, you want to know how big a mustard seed is? If I were to take, and I don't have one, I do right here. Let me see if I can do it on my finger. All right. We did nope. I did it way too big. Let's see. I am going to do, I don't know if you can see it. So on YouTube, can you see that itty bitty green mark on my finger? Yeah, that's weird, I know. But anyway, so yeah, that itty bitty mark on my finger, right, is that is the size of a mustard seed. The mustard seed is the smallest seed of all the seeds, but it grows into the largest garden plant, the largest tree of all. In fact, it grows so large and it is so hardy and so healthy that birds come and make their nests in it. And again, this is what we talked about, and this is what we've been talking about in Grow Your Faith Community this week or this month. And just having that little faith, saying, you know what, I'm not feeling his truths at the moment, but instead I'm going to choose to stand on them anyway. I feel like this is impossible, but I'm going to choose to stand on what I know to be true, that our God is a God of impossibility. I don't feel it right now, but I'm going to keep choosing it because I have the faith of a mustard seed, and I want my circumstances to change. I want to feel whole again. I want to experience peace, even when everything around me feels so hard and messy and impossible. I want to understand what it's like to experience that peace. I want to live the life God created me for. And it all starts with the faith of a mustard seed. It all starts with standing on the truth of God, even if we don't feel like it. And friend, here's something else I want you to know. This is not a one and done thing. This is daily. We need to stand on the truth of God every single day. And you know what? In some of those seasons, those hard, messy, awful seasons, we're going to have to repeat that again and again and again. We stand up there in warrior pose and we say that Christian affirmation and start to feel a little bit better. And 5 minutes later, we got to say it again. And we do it. And maybe 20 minutes later, I've got to say it again. So we do it. Maybe an hour later, we have to say it again. So we do it. And we're going to keep doing it until our heart catches up with our faith. We're going to keep doing it until we feel that peace of God. And we always say, and I know I've said this myself too, but that peace of God wash over us. And yes, it washes over us. But to be honest with you, it's more of a peace that comes, it just kind of explodes from within. That's really the peace. It just comes from within and just, it's like this soothing, comfy, beautiful, gosh, I don't even know, experience. Is that the right word for it? But it's amazing, my friend. But you've got to do the work. You've got to start speaking words of biblical affirmation over your life. So friend, again, I want to encourage you to hop on over to footprintsofinspiration.com/affirmations. I have the blog post over there. And again, you can grab that download over there as well. I would love for you to grab that. I would love to hear from you. Send me a DM. Tell me what your affirmation, choose your affirmation, whether it's one that I did or one that you did, and send me a DM today and tell me what that affirmation is that you are going to stand on. Friend, I'm going to stand here in prayer with you. I am. So I want to hear from you. DM me over on Instagram or Facebook or wherever and let me know what it is, what Christian affirmation you're going to stand on today. And friend, I would love it if this show blessed you today. Would you mind doing me a favor? Could you share it with a friend? I would really appreciate it. We want to get this out there, man. We want to defeat Satan. And the more we share this stuff, the more we get it out there, the more we stand together as brothers and sisters in Christ. Man, the more powerful we are, not because of us, but because of God's strength. I mean, think about that for just a moment. I know I'm signing off here, but think about that for just a moment, right? God's strength, us individually, God's strength is made greater in our weakness, each of our weaknesses, right? And then we add another person to it, someone we come alongside another person, and that's God's strength through both of us standing against something. And then we add 3 or 4 more people. And look at how much more of God's strength we are, fighting against what it is we're standing for, what we're standing for and what we're standing against, right? Man, powerful. So spread this around, share it with your friends. I would absolutely be honored if you do that. But friends, I am so excited to talk to you about Christian affirmations. It is a way that I am getting through my life. It's a way that I've learned how to experience peace right in the midst of some of the hardest times in my life. And I'll be honest with you, here recently, I've been going through a fibro flare, like a really bad fibro flare. I'm not sure what's going on, but we're really struggling. I'm really struggling. And so I started noticing that I actually, that started, those words again started going through my head. I'm not feeling well. And I noticed it after. It took me a couple of weeks, which it shouldn't take a couple of weeks at this point. But that's life, right? When you're feeling so bad, your defenses are down and Satan gets in there more. Excuse me. But this is what I want to tell you, because I want you to understand that this is going to happen. These are the things that are going to happen in life. Just because we stand on God's truth and we are children of God, it doesn't mean it's never going to happen again. But what it does mean is we know His truth. We know that when we declare words of biblical affirmation over our life, that God will bring it to fruition. He will show up each and every time. So friend, I just want to encourage you today. Again, send me a DM. I want to know what your Christian affirmation is going to be. So I want to see my inbox flooded. I want to be completely, gloriously overwhelmed with all of your Christian affirmations. So make sure you DM me. I can't wait to hear them. And friend, I've got another great study coming up next week. I'm really excited about it. So won't spill the beans just yet. But at any rate, it is so good to have you here. Thank you so much again. I truly appreciate you showing up each and every week. And listen, you have a good rest of your week. And I'll see you back here next week for another episode of a Faithful God podcast.